Hello again, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Spiritual Honesty. I'm Pastor Brad along with Pastor Randy, and as you can tell, things look a little different. This isn't our normal set. We are on location. Where are we exactly?
Oh, we're up at River Roads Lutheran School. It's a small school in Baden outside St. Louis, north side St. Louis. And it's attached to Ebenezer Lutheran Church.
So why are we here?
Oh, because we are going to help renovate this school.
Sounds like a mission project to me.
Oh, yeah, big mission.
We're going to talk more about that in just a minute, but that leads us into our verse for today, which I know is very important to you. Yep. Acts 1:8, for you will receive power from the Holy Spirit, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. It is specifically calling us to mission. I mean, there's no two ways of looking at that verse, right?
Yep, that's basically it. It's the bottom line.
So how would you define mission then?
Oh, going out and finding somebody doing something, and you just join in and do it with them. This is the way you spread the love of Christ. And so you have here at the school, you have another church, Emmanuel Lutheran Church in St. Charles, that has taken on this school as their mission project. And so this is a collaboration between Acts 1:8, Emmanuel Lutheran Church, and a bunch of kids from around the country.
Yeah, we got people here from Indiana, of course, but also Missouri and Texas and Maryland. And we want to introduce them to you and show you a little bit of what exactly has been going on. Mm-hmm. Like many inner city areas, this neighborhood in North St. Louis has seen better days. Once a thriving area, things changed when people left for the suburbs. Through it all, the church remained, as did a desire to make things better.
We just really appreciate what you guys are going to do to help River Roads.
Anthony Verdure worked in St. Louis City Schools for 26 years, but bypassed retirement to come to River Roads Lutheran School as assistant principal and athletic director. He was part of a unique group of people that came together in mission.
Not only is the mission project great for the school and the community, all of the different people that you meet is just great to build relationships and meet positive people.
Part of our mission is to train up, children in the way they should go. Not just kids, we actually train within our own staff too. So we build strong relationships with each other so that we can, be able to grow together, in Christ and in teaching the little children.
Don Barr knows all about mission, having served in China and Taiwan. He came to River Roads from Austin, Texas.
I've always had a desire to do mission work, but it's even with nowadays too in Austin. We do a lot of mission work with our youth groups, with our ESL and computer people, and we just try to help as many people as we can. Sometimes, hopefully, a lot of times we can show our faith.
Don's daughter Natalie came from Baltimore with 2 students in tow. Like her father, she became a teacher and a missionary at heart.
Lots of people just live for themselves. And mission, when you're on mission, you start looking outside of yourself and finding a need, and you fill the need.
So I can help out this school and hang out with my teacher and my friend.
Maybe one day, Hayden and the other youngsters involved in this project will return. If not here, then maybe somewhere else.
As this began and I started meeting new people and I started seeing how important it is to have mission projects and also get the children to help so they understand that giving back is you reap so many benefits for yourself, your inner self, and you help others. So it's just a great experience.
but already there are plans to come back next year to keep rebuilding the school and building relationships.
It was well worth the trip, and I keep on telling my wife too that I've got one more trip in me. I want to go back one more time. Now, whether it's China or somewhere else, I'm not sure, but I got one more.
A great project, a great school, a great week of work here. And I know it's, at least in your opinion, that it's very important that these mission trips not just be kind of hit and run.
Right.
You want to come back to the same place
Yes.
and create relationships.
Yes, and I've been here since 1999. I did my vicarage here. And so 22 years ago? Yeah, 22 years ago, I did my vicarage here at River Roads and left and basically stayed in touch with the people here, but didn't get overly involved until a few years ago, and bumped into the principal, who is, how do you want to say, kind of, I don't know, behind the eight ball. So anyways, so I started working with her and supported one of the 8th graders, and just been here ever since. And then, let's see, Natalie was a student here until 6th grade. Her dad was a teacher here until 2006. So there's a lot of longevity, a lot of people that spent, have kind of their roots here.
And that word relationship keeps coming back. So let's meet an Indiana woman who is creating relationships with her mission work in Kenya.
In about October of 2020, a friend came to me and she said, I feel like I'm supposed to be leading a trip to Kenya. And I said, well, I want to go. And she said, really? I said, yeah, but I need to pray about it. I mean, I don't know if that's what God wants. I've always wanted to go. And I had already been putting money back. God had told me months before that to put money back. But I thought I was taking my kids on a trip somewhere. And so she told me this on a Sunday. And on Wednesday, she sent me a text with ticket price as low as $644. And she said, no pressure. I just want you to know I'm looking at flights. And I found this one. And God had been talking to me about being obedient. When he said to do things, do it now. He had told me to contact a friend of mine one morning, and I was babysitting kids, and I said, I'll do it. I'll send her a message at lunchtime. And when I got back on there to send her a message, I read that her mom had died that morning. So God was really impressing upon me to do what he said when he said to do it. Well, my friends came over that Friday afternoon, and I heard, go count your money. And I thought, Lord, why would I go get my money out in front of my friends? That just doesn't make sense to me. But I'm going to do it because I don't want to miss an opportunity to be obedient. And I went and counted it, and there was $644 there. Exactly the amount that the ticket she sent me was. So I just threw it all in, and I said, I'm in. Whenever it is, whatever it is, I'm in. I think this is God's way of saying you're going. So we started planning, and we went in December of 2020, which everybody thought was really crazy because the pandemic was going on during that time, and nobody was traveling. And we went and put on a women's conference in Pokot, which is a large village in Kenya. And we met with another ministry called Desh Care International, who takes care of girls in the slums, provides sanitary napkins and underwear, and just takes care of their needs as best they can. So while I was there in Pokot, I heard God tell me, welcome home. And I just looked around and said, okay. So someone told me I would be returning every 3 months, and I didn't believe him. And here I am. I went back again. I got home in January, went back in April, and I'm getting ready to return again in July.
Before this time, before all of this happened, did you have any desire to go on a mission trip? Had it been something that God had been working with you for a while, or did it just happen suddenly?
I had always had a desire to go to Africa. I went on a mission trip in Costa Rica in 2012, and then nothing for several years. I mean, all those years until 2020, and then Kenya came up, and so yes, I've always desired to go. And God had also told me 10 years ago that I'd be preaching to women all over the world, and I said, okay. At that time, I had no idea how that was going to happen, but I said, okay, I'm willing. So.
Tell me a little bit about what you found in Kenya on your first trip, and what was it that maybe stood out to you in terms of what needed to be done and what you were doing?
What I found in Kenya, so many needs, so many ministry opportunities, so many people that just welcomed me with open arms and gave me a little bit of what they had. They have nothing. These people have nothing. And when I say that, in America, when I say someone has nothing, that means they have food, they have water, they have lights, they have a house. They might not have a lot of stuff in their house. When I say they have nothing in Kenya, in Pokot specifically, where we did ministry, I mean, you might have 14 people living in a handmade hut and walk in and there is nothing in the hut. There wasn't a jug for water. There wasn't a speck of food at this house. We brought them food that would last them a week, and it was like they just thought it was a miracle that God would provide. And then they said, I want to give you something. And I looked at my friend. I can't speak their language, so I have a translator, and he said, don't go anywhere, wait, don't get back on the bike. They want to give you something. And I'm looking around thinking, what are they going to give me? Because they don't have anything. And he said, they're going to give you a rooster. I said, what am I going to do with a rooster? I was panicked. I said, are they going to kill it first? What do you mean they're going to be giving me a rooster? Do I have to take it? I don't want to take it. It's the only thing they have, their livelihood. And they chased it down. They gave me the fattest rooster they had to welcome me to the village. Other people welcomed me with honey and papayas and eggs. They just gave whatever they had. So what I found there was generous hearts and people that had nothing, and people that scarily would be open to anything someone would come to tell them. So whenever I had the opportunity to share Jesus, of course I did, and I think 30 people accepted Christ the first trip. And my concern, though, is the people of Pokot don't really go out of that village. They don't even know Swahili, which is the common language of Kenya. They only know Pokot. So for them to get an education or change their lifestyle or hear what people are saying, somebody really has to go to them and have a translator. And then, like I said, it's almost scary because I think they would believe anything that someone would come to share with them. I found people that walked 8 hours to get dirty water in the river. I found sick people that I know were sick because of the water. When people were asking me to pray over them and pray over their kids, every time I did, and I just heard, it's the water. I believe that God can cleanse water before they put it in their mouths without a filter, and that's what I prayed every time. But they need food, they need water, they need clothing. I found preschools that had kids in them, 6-year-olds carrying babies on their back to walk 5 miles to go to school for a day. Screaming kids. And the school is a concrete slab with a chalkboard. The teachers had no supplies besides some chalk, 1 set of flashcards, and 2 posters that he had drawn of a person, and he was trying to teach them the names of the body parts in English, and about 50 kids from ages 9 to newborn in the classroom teaching like that. Kids had no supplies, no desks. I mean, forget computers. They don't even have pen and paper. So,
did you find that the greater need there was physical or spiritual?
It's obviously spiritual. They need Jesus, but the physical needs are so great. I think when you're hungry and when you're sick and some are dying because they need an antibiotic that we can so easily access that they can't, I think it's hard for them to concentrate on a spiritual need when they're hungry, when they're sick, when they're working themselves to death just for the little that they have.
Did you find a fairly high level of, or a positive reception, I should say, to the message then, that people were hungry for that?
Absolutely, 100%. I shared a message on grace, burdens, and forgiveness, actually a couple different messages. And the response to that was outstanding. Everyone came. When I offered them to come and lay their burdens at the foot of the cross, it was like a flood of the 50 women or however many were there just came forward and eager to lay down their burdens and have me pray over them and sharing their burdens. And I even had a lady come up to me afterwards and she said, please get the translator. And she was probably in her 50s. And she said she wanted to give me honey because that's what she had, and thank me for the message of laying down her burdens because she had never heard that before. And she didn't know she wasn't supposed to carry the burdens that God is so willing to carry for us. She said, I've been so worried about my 2 adult children, and today you gave me an opportunity to put them at the feet of Jesus and let go of that burden that I was never supposed to carry. And I just want to thank you. So if she's in her 50s and never heard that message, what's that tell you?
You've gone back now twice. You're going back a third time. I assume you're reconnecting with many of the same people.
Yes.
Do you find that the message is taking root?
Yes, actually, they told me the second time that I went back that they had started a women's Bible study and prayer meeting after we left the first time, and that they had been meeting weekly since we left.
Do you feel like this is, in a sense, your calling now from God?
100%. I know it's my calling. I'm 37 years old, and I've prayed about my calling for many years, and I know beyond a shadow of any doubt, it's 100% my calling to be there in Kenya, and not even just Kenya, but more specifically West Pokot.
So what is the long-range plan here? You talked about the 3 months. Is that the goal, to go back every 3 months?
I think if that's what God calls me to do, then absolutely. I'm open to what He's calling, and He's actually called me to launch my own nonprofit and ministry. And my lifelong goal, and it will probably take me the rest of my life, is to have a school, a medical center, and a church in every village in Pokot. I have a friend that's been doing ministry in Pokot for 10 years, and he doesn't even know how many villages are in Pokot. So that tells you how big it is. And those 4 major needs are major needs, and I won't stop until every village has all those things.
It is important for people to support this kind of thing financially.
Absolutely.
We know that. But at the same time, how powerful has it been for you to be able to walk with them and grow with them in person, as we are called to do, to share one another's burdens? How powerful, and what influence has that had on your life?
It's kind of indescribable, really. I think when people, the first time I went, I met people. And in fact, 2 people came to me. One said they wanted to give me land to build my church. And not even 5 minutes later, another girl came over to the other side and said, I'm sorry to interrupt, but God told me you're going to have a church here one day. And so I looked at my translator and I laughed and I said, what'd she say? Because she was speaking plain English. And he said, you heard her. She's just confirming what the other girl just told you. All you need to do is say yes now. So being able to see those girls that spoke that over my life the second time I went, one of them was working behind a stand whenever I showed up there, and she just couldn't believe her eyes that I was actually back. So many go and say, I'm going to come back one day, or I want to come back, and never return. And so many people told me that you did what you said. You came back like you said you were going to do. And that just had an impact on them like no other. There were even the village that we held the women's conference in the first time was an hour and a half dirt bike ride from the village we held the conference in the second time. And I had a woman, as I was doing a house call, run up from a path. I mean, this is all just bushes and some huts. It's kind of like a desert where people just have set up camp here, or my family lives over there. It's not like I have a house and you have a house, and they walk everywhere. So an hour and a half dirt bike ride, I don't know what that equals to walking, but the second time I was there, I was doing a house call, and a girl that I had prayed over the first time ran up from somewhere down a path and just came and hugged me, and she said, we don't speak the same language, but I had the translator there, and I said, I remember her. I prayed over her the first time I came. I wasn't expecting to see anybody that I saw the first time because it was so far of a walk. And she said, yeah, that's what she said. You had such an impact on her life, and she saw you go by on a dirt bike, and she was down the path somewhere, and she saw you, and she just wanted to come and give you a hug. So they remember me. Of course, I'm probably the only white person they've ever seen, but I remember them too. And to be able to see the lives they live and the gratitude that they have and the generosity they have, it makes me ashamed of Americans, to be honest with you. We have so much, and some give so little. And what I've found to be true in just all my life is those that have the least give the most.
Just great stuff. But I think the point, Randy, is you don't have to go to Kenya to engage in mission. You go where God has called you, whether that is Kenya or St. Louis or your own backyard.
Yeah, exactly. It makes no difference. And so somebody say, I don't have the gift to go overseas, and I don't have the gift to do the stuff that you do. Well, let me see. Then you're not gifted to do that, but you're gifted to love your neighbor as yourself, love the people around you, and help people unconditionally. Makes no difference.
And I think that's the point, really, of that verse, Acts 1:8, where Jesus says, go be my witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria. Well, Jerusalem is what? Backyard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Judea would be your region, and then Samaria would be, sometimes God takes you places you don't expect or don't want to go.
Yep, exactly.
So we don't look at that verse necessarily literally,
Right.
but I do think God is calling us to be witnesses in our backyard, in our region, and sometimes to places we don't necessarily think we want to go.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And if you think that it's the place you desire, this is where I've dreamed all my life to go, and you'll find that maybe that's not where the Lord's going to send you. And you go because you're called. Somebody asked you to go someplace, and you just go, okay, then this is where we're going. Somebody asked me to come here and work here at River Roads, and it's not like the most ideal place to work, but there's people in need, people really trying to make it, and therefore you walk alongside of them, encouraging them. Oh, yeah.
Let's take a look at our question this week, our viewer question, which is really interesting because it's the subject of kind of a debate going on in the church today. The question is, if my loved ones have been cremated, can they still go to heaven? What do you think?
Oh, my goodness, that is a loaded question. So let me see. The Lord says your body's a temple. It's God's creation. Therefore, don't decimate it. Don't destroy it.
That's the argument against
Exactly,
cremation, right?
exactly. And people will just hang on to that and say, "Oh, you can't be cremated." Well, what about somebody that got burned up in a fire and has no choice but there's only ashes left. Will they go to heaven?
There's two verses I think of here. One is that section in Ezekiel 37, the Valley of the Dry Bones, where God puts together the dead carcasses, the remains of dead, rotting skeletons. And so if God can do that, we would certainly assume that he could put ashes back together.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, people also point to Genesis 3:19. For from ashes you came, from dust you are, to dust you shall return.
Yep,
So
exactly.
it's one of those things that has biblical arguments for both. The Bible doesn't specifically condemn it. So I think my position would be God can do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not what you what you determine should happen, but no, I'm dead. So what am I going to do? To be honest, probably get cremated. Now, why? Let me see. It's expensive to buy a plot.
Part of the argument.
Exactly.
Burial is much more expensive.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I'll go join the cremation crowd. My mom was cremated, and I think it's a just way to go. Now, if I'm getting cremated so that God can't raise me on the last day and can't put my ashes together, I got some rude awakening there.
Well, we thank you for that question. And if you want to send us in a viewer question, please feel free to do so. Just send it to my attention at that email address that you see, and maybe we'll have it on a future show. The activity behind us has stopped. It was lunch, and everybody is scattered and apparently gone back to work. So I guess that means what?
Yeah, we got to go to work. We got to supervise.
We're in our work clothes. Next time you see us, we'll be back in our familiar set and our familiar location. But it's been a great time here. It's been great working here. And we encourage you, if you get the opportunity, take part in a mission activity, even if it's just across town. Doesn't have to be in Africa or across the world, but it is a wonderful experience. Thank you for watching. For Pastor Randy, I'm Pastor Brad, saying we'll see you next time on Spiritual Honesty. Funding for this program has been made in part through a generous donation by Fisher Seeds of Shelbyville, Indiana. Fisher, grow, nourish, thrive.